November 1st, 1984, Raleigh, North Carolina. Inside the quiet walls of Central Prison, a death chamber stood ready, strapped down, sterilized, and waiting. In a nearby cell, 52-year-old Velma Barfield lay on her prison cot, her breathing steady. She was calm, too calm maybe, just hours away from becoming the first woman executed in the United States in over 20 years. To the outside world, she was a grandmother, soft-spoken, church-going, the kind of woman who might bake pies for a church fundraiser, but that wasn't who she really was. Velma Barfield was a serial killer. She didn't strangle or shoot her victims. She used arsenic, slipped into drinks, mixed into food, given with a sweet smile and soft southern manners. On this night, North Carolina's execution team was preparing to end the life of a woman who ended so many others. This is the final sentence, the woman behind the smile. Velma was born in 1932 in rural South Carolina, a farm girl who grew up poor, religious, and taught to mind her manners. She became a wife, then a mother, and later a grandmother. On the surface, her life seemed ordinary, but under that surface, something dark was brewing. Over the years, people close to her started dying. One of her husbands died in a house fire. Another fell ill and died after a series of suspicious episodes. Her own mother, poisoned twice. The second time, fatally. Velma always had an explanation, always seemed helpful, concerned. But in 1978, everything came crashing down. Her fiancé, Stuart Taylor, died suddenly after drinking his beer she gave him. His autopsy revealed arsenic. Investigators began digging, and what they found was chilling. Taylor wasn't the first. He was just the last. Death row begins. Velma was convicted of murder and sentenced to death. The press called her the death row granny. But in prison, she found something else: religion. She claimed to be born again. She started leading Bible studies, counseling inmates, comforting guards. Her supporters called her redeemed. But redemption doesn't erase bodies. The state of North Carolina didn't see a changed woman. They saw a killer who got away with murder for too long. And now, her countdown had begun. November 1st, the final wake-up. Velma didn't toss and turn that night. She didn't cry. According to the guard posted outside her cell, she slept like a rock. At around 6 a.m., she stirred. Coughing softly, she sat up and asked for instant coffee and hot water. "I really slept well," she said, with a small smile, wrapping her hands around the warm cup. "Must be because I barely slept the night before," she chuckled. That small laugh, the irony of sleeping soundly before her death, stayed with the guard for a long time. Bible in hand, Velma started flipping through its pages. The book was worn, used daily. She didn't fidget. She didn't break down. She had chosen her faith as her armor. Around 9 a.m., it was time for the first of her scheduled visits. As she was being escorted, a correctional officer stepped forward holding something unexpected: a bright yellow mum flower. "This is from the men of Central Prison," he said softly. "A small token of their love and concern for you today." The guards hesitated. Was she allowed to accept it? But she reached out, cradled the flower, and nodded. "Thank them for me." She said it like someone receiving a birthday card, not like someone about to die. Pastor's visit, the bad news. Just after 11:30 a.m., Velma was sitting in the visitor room, visibly waiting for someone. That someone was Reverend Hugh Hoyle, her pastor and closest spiritual guide in prison. She stood when he entered, smiling warmly, almost like it was just a normal day. But Reverend Hoyle hadn't come with comfort. He had come with the worst news. "Velma, your final appeal has been denied." She looked away for a moment, then back at him, calm. "Well, that's what I figured." Hoyle took her hands. "Is there anything left? Anything you haven't confessed?" She shook her head. "No, brother. I'm ready to go." Lunch on death row. Around noon, she was served lunch. Pea soup, crackers, and fruit punch. She ate quietly, while flipping through letters and telegrams. Messages poured in from across the country, some in support, some not so kind. "Don't worry about me," she told one of the chaplains nearby. "Worry about the others, those 39 men still waiting down there." Even now, she wasn't thinking about herself. Or at least, that's how it looked on the outside. The afternoon was filled with visits. Her brothers, Jimmy and John, stopped by. So did her cousin. But 2 visits mattered most: her children, Ronnie and Pam. While other visitors got 30 minutes, they were granted a full 2 hours. As soon as Pam entered the room, she ran to her mother and broke down, sobbing. Ronnie stood by, silent and shaking. Velma stayed calm. She didn't talk about death. She gave instructions. Take care of Pam. Handle the funeral. Remember the good times. Pam didn't want to let go. When the visit ended, she clung to her mother, refusing to release her. It was Ronnie who gently pulled her away, whispering, "Don't look back." But she did. That moment, her mother in prison clothes, saying goodbye for the last time, was burned into her forever. Evening, a moment alone. Back in her cell, the cracks finally showed. Alone she wept. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet breaking. She had kept it together for her children. But now, with the goodbyes over, the silence hit hard. At 6:13 p.m., she requested a few things: cheese doodles, a Coke, a pen, and 2 small white Bibles from her cell. The snacks arrived late, almost 30 minutes after her request. She barely touched them. Instead, she picked up the pen and, with fingers soon stained orange from the cheese dust, began writing messages in the Bibles. The final hour. At 7:15 p.m., guards arrived to escort her out of the cell. 2 lawyers stood waiting, each holding a single rose. Their faces were stiff, barely holding it together. They spent the next hour saying goodbye. No legal talk, no strategy, just human pain. One of them, Richard Burr, later admitted, "I had a terrible sense of failure. I was crying, telling her how sorry I was. This wasn't a courtroom anymore. It was a place of loss. For Burr, Velma wasn't just a case. She was his first client to go all the way to the end. And now, there was no more time." The chaplain's visit. At 11:30 p.m., the chaplain came in. He was nervous. What do you say to someone about to die? But Velma made it easy. She didn't ask for comfort. Instead, she offered it. She talked about her kids, the guards, her lawyers, even the people who were preparing to kill her. She never once brought up herself, the chaplain said later. It was all about others. The execution. November 2nd, 1984, 1:45 a.m. Velma's final request was honored. She was allowed to wear pink pajamas. A diaper was added, grim but necessary. A heart monitor and stethoscope were taped to her chest. IVs were inserted into her arms. A saline drip was started. At 1:45 a.m., guards wheeled her from her cell. No music, no prayer, just quiet footsteps echoing off tile floors. She was brought into the execution chamber. Through the glass, silent witnesses watched. Some there for justice, some for vengeance, some just watching history. 3 volunteers stood ready to press the plungers. One of the syringes was fake, so none would know who delivered the actual lethal dose. Her final words. The warden asked if she had any last words. Velma spoke softly. "I want to say that I'm sorry for all the hurt I've caused. I know that everybody has gone through a lot of pain, all the families connected, and I'm sorry. I want to thank everybody who has been supporting me all these 6 years." Then, silence. At 2:15 a.m., the execution began, and within minutes, Velma Barfield, once a church-going grandma, once a serial killer, was pronounced dead. Her body was taken away quietly. Outside the prison, protesters stood on both sides of the death penalty debate. Some held signs calling her a murderer. Others prayed for her soul. But one thing everyone agreed on: she was gone, and she took the full truth of her past with her. So, here's the question. If your mother had done what Velma did, would you visit her on her final day? Velma Barfield poisoned people she claimed to love. And yet, in her final hours, she also showed grace, calm, and maybe even regret. Was it real, or just another mask? Let us know what you think in the comments. This is The Final Sentence. If you want more stories that go beyond the headlines, subscribe now. We've got more coming. Because sometimes the quietest killers leave behind the loudest echoes